Hey folks, this is part 3 of a possibly 8-part series where I've drawn 8 different characters on one sketchbook page, trying to stretch my imagination, drawing a variety of characters. Enjoy this video as I color the 4th character in this series. Hey, welcome back to the next character in this series. This character, I'm drawing in Prismacolor Premier colored pencils. This character, I think I'm gonna name him Carlitos. But I kind of imagined him as kind of a little Latino kid. And I'm kind of starting with kind of a peach color, but as I go along here, I'll start to add a little more browns to the skin color, the skin tone, but the peach kind of gives it some liveliness because the peach has got a little red in it. If you just start with the brown, sometimes it gets a little too desaturated. And skin has the tendency to be a little bit more on the red side. So adding a little bit of the peach with the brown kind of gives it a little more life. And when I started this, I actually had a pretty good idea of what the colors would be. These characters are pretty simple. There's not too much to them, so kind of having a game plan before I even start's not too difficult to do. So I had a pretty good idea before I started what I was going to color him in. I think with the exception of maybe the glasses and the shoes, pretty much everything else I kind of had an idea of what I wanted. And with the colored pencils, you could put quite a few layers, like 3, even 4 layers of color with a colored pencil, kind of doing it really lightly, leaving a little bit of the paper tooth before you go in with what's called the final burnishing layer. Now the burnishing layer, you're kind of pressing a little harder, and all the colors beneath the color you're currently doing, it all mixes together in that burnishing layer. Now some people use a clear colored pencil. I don't really prefer that. I usually use like I'll use whatever color, but oftentimes a white, but that white will mix with all the colors beneath it and create the color I want. And kind of just from practice and experimentation and experience, you kind of know what color it's going to turn out based on what you put beneath it. And sometimes you don't know for sure, so you kind of gotta see if you could save what you're doing, but most of the time you can kind of get it down if you have a lot of experience. But again, it just takes some experience and a little learning and kind of knowing the colors you have to work with. So let's go ahead and get on with this and just kind of watch, speed this up as we watch some of this happen. So right here I begin to color in the hair with some sepia tone. It's kind of a dark brown, pretty black. Later on in the video you'll see me kind of burnish that out with some white, but then it turns out to be kind of too grayish. And so I start to add a little more saturation into his hair by coloring it with a little bit more brown, and that's later in the video. So right here I started going into coloring the clothes, which, like I said before, I kind of had a good idea of how I wanted to color it. this point, I'm going back into the skin to add a little color. Again, getting that kind of redness into the skin so he doesn't look so pale and desaturated. I'm also adding a little bit more shadow under the nose and in other certain areas like under the lips, just defining some areas. Pushing the highlights and pushing the darks. And just going in and kind of burnishing some areas. And then I go ahead and go back into the hair. And this is when I'm burnishing the hair. But again, I think it's mostly because the transition from the dark part of the hair to the light was such a gradual gradient that it ended up making it look like he had gray hair rather than it being a shiny sheen like on his dark black hair. And then from this point, after I finish up the hair, I start going into the glasses. Now the glasses were fun because I wanted to choose kind of just an off crazy color, and ended up going with pink. I was thinking green or orange, but this felt right to me because it kind of went with the red and it looks really good with those bluish colors. So I had a lot of fun with this one. At this point, I'm going back into some of the inks to kind of reestablish some of those inks because going over them with colored pencil fades them out a little bit. So just kind of defining those lines again. Well, this is my coloring of my character, Carlitos. Hope to see you in the next one.